Hey, welcome back to season 3 of the Business of Living podcast. And season 3, we're going to have guests and we're going to have some intentional conversations about what it looks like to live all out, to go all in, to be fully alive, to make the most of the life that you've been given. And I'm excited because my first guest is a man responsible for a lot of the shaping that has occurred in my life and a lot of the wisdom that I've been able to share. It's my father, Fran McGreevy. Welcome to the Business of Living podcast.
Well, Michael, I am honored really to be on here with you. I've followed your career all these years, and it's been what an exciting ride. And I'm glad to participating in the business of living today, because that's what we're about, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Is it a little awkward to have a favorite child? Did the other kids know that I'm your favorite son and favorite child overall?
I think they're living under the delusion that they are the favorite. So it's a bit, there's a little competition going on there, I think.
That's got to be hard for them. I mean, I didn't even try to take that seat. It just happened.
Oh.
Well, anyway, the reason why I wanted to start this series off with you is because of what's been going on in your life since you've, quote, retired, because retirement has not exactly happened in your life. You've been in the education world for 43 years, right? And you've had an amazing career in education. And most people would say, hey, that's something I can hang my hat on. I've accomplished a lot. I've made a difference. Now it's time to coast. Now it's time to relax a little bit, enjoy my life, sit in a lawn chair and stare at the horizon. But you have a little bit different approach since you've retired. So what have you been thinking? What have you been up to lately?
Well, I one thing I discovered about myself a long time ago is that I am hungry. I am hungry for more. I'm not really satisfied yet. You know, I love my career, but I somehow feel that I am more in a position to serve or help or give to this world than I ever have been. You know, I'm 69 years old, so I am older, but I probably am wiser than I have ever been. I'm more humble because of all the stupid ass mistakes I've made through all these years.
This is a family show. Come on.
Okay. So I feel like I'm a little better positioned, you know, to give back to the world and to have an impact and to just see what God has called me to and to go after that, because time is limited, right? I mean, I don't know how much time I have. So,
For sure.
You know, I want to make the most of it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'm not morbid or anything, but I feel like I think about death a lot. And even recently with some of the tragedies that have happened, it's just been top of mind that we have such limited amount of time on this earth. So what are you going to do with it, right? Is there any reason not to be going after what you were meant to go after?
Mm.
And even as we sit here and I look around at this amazing barn, just a couple years ago, this was an old foundation, right? It was grass and a pile of dirt here. Where did this come from? What's up with this barn that we're sitting in right now?
Yeah, it's been really an exciting ride these last years. We had an old barn on the other side of the property that we were going to try to fix up, and our goal is to have all kinds of different events. I have a business. It's called Root Education, Leadership and Learning. I run conferences, do mentoring for educational leaders and that. And so we were going to try to fix up the old barn, but we had several experts in to say it wasn't worth it, you know? So then we said, well, let's knock the old barn down and put a new one right in its spot. But the town of Clarence said, now, wait a minute, that's a historical site. That was built maybe 1840, 1850. You can't just knock that down. So one thing led to another with a little encouragement from Michael and others. Why don't you build a new one? I'm saying, build a new barn? Are you crazy? And we thought about it and prayed about it and started researching it and came to the conclusion, let's build a new event barn. And so the Amish did it. We contracted with them, and they did most of the work. We did some of the work and did some subbing. And so now we have this beautiful post and beam barn. It's just a great atmosphere for gathering. We got a big fireplace here. We put sound system in, lighting system. The floors are heated. It's got beautiful railings, and it's just a really gorgeous place to meet. What an atmosphere for whatever you want to go after. So
yeah, it's a gorgeous place, and I mean, some people think it's nicer than the house, right? You could move in here, and it would be an amazing apartment to live in. If you're just listening on audio, you can't see it right now, but I want to give a quick just look around from my camera here to show you how awesome this place is. Super high ceilings, a balcony up there. Like my dad said, there's a fireplace, and already this has been a place where so many awesome events have happened. Graduations, celebrations, a Bills football party. I mean, there's so much going on in this space that probably never could have happened if you didn't build it. I mean, it's a true, if you build it, they will come type of story. And I feel like this is just the beginning as well. I'm actually going to do a conference in this barn next month for an executive team that I coach with too. And several other family members and friends have done events here too. And I know this is just the beginning. So Pa, as I call you, I mean, was there something attractive about kind of just cooling off and drinking coffee and going to the beach and sitting around? I mean, did that occur to you at the time of retirement? I mean, because that's a long career, 43 years. What were you feeling at the end of the road there?
Well, there is a longing to, with my wife Annie and I, Mike's mother, we love to get to the ocean and sit by the shore and read, and just, we wanted to relax. It's true. But what burns more in me is just a hunger to make a difference in this short time we have. I think it was Thoreau who said that most men live lives of quiet desperation, and they go to the grave with their song still in them. Like they never sang their song. They never did something with what was given them, with what God put in their heart. And it's so easy to procrastinate and put it off. Your confidence gets attacked, all the problems that get in the way. And it takes some real perseverance and courage to move forward with what you want to do with your life. But it is so worth it. Regret is not a good thing to have to live with. And I have enough regret for how many times I didn't respond to that quiet voice within me that said, step forward, go for this, do that. I don't want to live with that kind of regret anymore. So, and I think one of the most wholesome, wonderful things to do is to gather with people, and this is a gathering place. We feed off one another. And if you can get some people who are alive and hungry and love God and want to make a difference, it is just so rich, because you're not going to be able to do it alone. And so, of course, Mike and I and Tom we've run meetings here regularly. We're having a conference here this summer on burnout and the effects of the pandemic. We just have a lot going on, and it's a little bit of a battle and a struggle to move forward. There's all kinds of resistance, that gets in the way of striving forward. But it is worth it. It is worth it.
It is. And you're a master at gathering people intentionally. I can't tell you how many gatherings I've been to outside of our family where they put some food out on the table and nobody says anything, right? You show up, you walk in, some people might say hello to you, but they tell you where the food is, and then they just we'll see where it goes. But you've always been really intentional, whether that's a Christmas dinner or a graduation party or a gathering just to gather and deepen friendships and connections. There's always some kind of intentional event or activity that draws people together and also makes them think about things that are meaningful. And I think that's been a really special part of how you've lived your life, and that I've gotten to experience myself throughout our lives. And it's passed down to my family too. Now, every time there's people together, I can't help but take that opportunity to, hey, while we're all here, while we all have your attention, like, let's talk about something that matters. Let's talk about something that's meaningful and make the most out of this instead of just kind of, you talked about that quiet desperation. I feel like everybody in the room is longing for something deeper,
Mm.
but it's a little bit scary to initiate those conversations. It's uncomfortable to get everyone's attention and to start ask a powerful question or do an activity. But when you do, like you said, it's so meaningful and so worth it.
Mm.
Where did that come from with you? I mean, did you one day you just say, I want to make sure that we do something rather than just eat food and kind of talk about the weather?
Somewhere along the line, actually, probably several different times in my life, I've had a kind of aha experience about, the value of a person, just hit me like a ton of bricks.
Hmm.
I think it was Lewis who said, there are no ordinary people. You have never spoken with a mere mortal,
Hmm.
and so to be with people and to realize that they've got a treasure in them to give, but to have an atmosphere where that can be called forth, and it doesn't always have to be serious. I mean, the greatest times you're laughing and having a great time together, but to call forth what is within someone and for everyone else to benefit from their vitality, their life, their perspective is just, it's amazing, it's wonderful, and we can, how much we miss sometimes. And here's the, I think we often walk among gods and goddesses and we don't realize it, and they have, even what you might consider the most unsuspecting person has some treasures there that we all can benefit from, that we're all meant to give, to create a culture where that can happen. Not where one person stands up there and, rattles on and on for hours, but where, people are, called out a little bit or given opportunity to share their ideas and their vision and their humor or whatever it might be, or their song or their poetry, it's we really enrich each other, I think,
Yeah, and oftentimes you do have to twist somebody's arm to step out in that way and offer their gift. And then if you don't do that, the loudest voice in the room or the most dominating voice in the room tends to take over.
Mm.
And all those gifts aren't brought forth from those people who are a little bit less likely to put themselves out there. So that's, I think, such a tremendous gift to those people and to the people that get to experience that gift as well.
Yeah.
So that's been a very powerful way of living out your life. Like, in general, you're constantly thinking of that, and that's, you pass that on to me. I mean, that's really what I do for my coaching clients, is help bring forth the gifts and the talents and the just the exceptional skills and perspectives that are buried under there and hidden under whatever. And I think that's a key point, is recognizing that every person has something that's really special and that needs to be brought forth. And the world will be missing out if that person doesn't bring it forward. So it sounds like that's a big part of the mission of this place, and gathering people and giving them opportunities to really share their gifts and improve the lives of those around them.
Yeah. It does take some, sort of focusing in on people and looking at them and trying to look at their heart a little bit and to listen, and sort of, begin to recognize what's there. We always can recognize what isn't good. We always can do that. We are so many times, we're bent towards the negative, bent,
For sure. Yeah.
and to begin to look for what's good in there is, it's like it's a treasure hunt, you're looking for buried treasure.
So it can be pretty uncomfortable to start having activities as a part of a gathering or having an interactive experience with guests, especially if you're not super close to those guests, or they're new, or they are a friend of a friend. So what has made you decide we're doing this? Like, we're doing this either way. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to take some work and preparation. What has gotten you to that point of saying, no, we're going to make this happen. This is worthwhile.
You know, one thing that has helped me is I see that people really do long to connect. I mean, they want to, you know, they don't want to be lonely with all that's in them, with all their thoughts and longings and everything else. They don't want that, you know. Loneliness is a killer. You know, the research on it is fascinating, but to open up and to connect with people is rich and it's wonderful. And once you create a culture where that begins to feel safe and you see the benefits from it, if you don't do it, people say, well, why aren't we meeting? Why aren't we talking about this? Why didn't we move this way? You know, like it becomes, you know, it becomes part of all your gathering, you know. Some great books on gathering, but it's just, it can, you know, meetings, you know, how many times do you meet and people say, oh, we got a meeting. I hate the meeting. Well, what's the purpose? Is there any connection? Is there life there? You know, and there's a way to make our gatherings and our meetings rich and satisfying, fulfilling, that people look forward to coming, you know, and can't wait till they start and are talking about them long time after, you know. What a sad thing. We're all together. We're not connecting. Nothing meaningful is said, nothing rich. There's, you know, to walk through life like that or walk through your family gatherings like that is, you know, not too cool. You know,
yeah, there's a lot of people who are extremely lonely, but around people all the time, right? So when you're in a room with a group of people, what's the difference? Like, what makes it a meaningful connection?
Yeah. Yeah, that's when something real is said that comes from someone's heart or thought, and people are looking and listening. And it could be a positive experience, or it could be a hurtful, it could be any number of things, but it's real. You know, it comes from within. It's not superficial, you know, it's, I don't know, you feel like you touch someone's heart and soul a little bit, you know?
Yeah. And I think people are hungry for something real and authentic more than ever, especially since we've all been separated for the past 2 years. Social media is the opposite of real often, right? It's just a kind of crafted, curated picture of somebody's life. But yeah, when you have something that is honest and real and doesn't have to be perfect, but comes out as authentic, that is so incredibly refreshing. And I think that's part of the hunger that you talk about, is you're after something real, like a real connection, a real experience, something more. And I love that in the Jewish language, there isn't a word for retirement. And the reason being is, you know, the idea is if you're alive and you still have something to offer, you should be offering that. That's what life is all about, is giving, bringing your gifts, bringing your talents to the world and enriching other people's lives with them. And so what would you say to someone who is winding up their career and they're just ready to kind of trail off into the sunset and relax for the rest of their days? What encouragement would you have for someone in that stage of life?
Well, I think, you know, to have some time to recover and relax, it's wonderful, you know. But I don't want you to die. You know what I mean? Like your vitality and life within you, it gets untaken care of or noticed or I don't know, nurtured, you know. And you know what? Another thing I realized that in most of our careers, including mine, I spent years as a principal, you know, a public school principal. You know, I was controlled. I mean, I worked for a whole system that told me the curriculum I had to do and all the rules I had to follow, and it was wonderful. I loved it. It was a great district. But now I'm free of that. Like I can go after what I want, and I don't have all of that pressure. You have to do it this way, and this is when you have to do it, and how you have to do it. But you're free to really mine your own heart and what's in there. Like that is really exciting, not to have that control sort of layered over your life. You know, there's a new kind of freedom, but you also discover, but you know what? When I was in the old place, everyone told me what to do, and I didn't really have to think about it. Well, now you do have to. Wait a minute, what is in there? You know, what longing has been buried in there that needs to be unearthed?
Well, that's a good point, because it's kind of scary too when for your whole life you've known exactly what you're supposed to do. And now it's almost like you're starting over in a way. You feel like an undeveloped, unmatured person that is trying to discover what you want to do when you grow up. And there's no rules, and it's so wide, and there's so many possibilities. So what do you do with that fear and that tension? I think maybe that's why a lot of people just hold on to what they know.
Yeah.
It feels comfortable. So I think it's important to acknowledge that that comes with a whole lot of discomfort, that wide open freedom. As does most activities that are valuable in life. There seems to be this hurdle that you have to get over, this discomfort that you have to face, or this fear that you have to overcome in order to walk in that direction. But I hear you saying that it's worth it.
I do. And I feel like, you know, equality, which is often gets so muted or marginalized or set off to the side, is our ability to initiate, you know, to start something that isn't going on right now. That takes a fair degree of courage and stick-to-itiveness to launch out in that way. So I think that's a strong masculine quality, that initiation. It's a quality of leadership, you know, to see something that maybe no one else has seen and said, I want to go after that. I want to give this to the world. I want to make people's lives better. I want to understand God and his ways and walk in them. I mean, it takes some, you know, initiation. Initiation is a little bit scary. You know, I'm starting this. What the heck am I doing? You know, like,
yeah, who are you to be the leader of this thing, or what makes you the expert, right? That's when all those negative thoughts come into play and start to make you question everything. And before you know it, maybe it's not worth it.
Yeah.
End up in that place.
Then it gets buried, huh?
Gets buried. And the song also gets buried.
That's right.
Along with you.
It does. Yeah, it does.
Well, this has been a tremendously valuable conversation, one that we've been having for several years now and continues to evolve. What are you excited about as you look out into that great unknown and with no rules and complete freedom? What is stirring in your heart in these years that you're living in right now?
Well, I see just what's happened in society as a result of the pandemic and all the social unrest. And, you know, I feel like there's a pall that's hanging over the world and families and organizations. It's burnout. It's a kind of exhaustion that somehow is muting our lives and what we are meant to give, you know? And I just like, we have to do something about that. You know, we have to somehow break out of that and go beyond that and not let that destroy what could be, you know? So, you know, I'm hungry for that. I'm hungry to gather people and to say, what is this? How can we deal with it? And how can it become a stepping stone or a leaping stone rather than a crushing stone in our lives, you know? So, you know, I think often about that. And I find a lot of people who want help, who want to address that whole thing. I mean, it is worth it, you know, or you can let it squash your lives and your families and your relationships and your community. You know, now is the time for community to rise up, I think, and really face all of that and not let it destroy our vitality.
Amen to that. Yeah, that's wisdom to live by for sure. And thank you for joining us and sharing your wisdom. And I'm certainly grateful for everything I've learned from you. You might have seen where I got a lot of my perspectives from. I'm a lot like my dad, and I'm grateful for that. But thank you for joining us, and I know that everyone listening got a lot of value out of this conversation. So
And I would like to say, Mike, as much as I'm your dad, you've been hounding me for years, but get off my butt and get moving. So it's been working both ways. I mean, building this bar and everything, a lot of it was your push and, Thomas's push. And, like you guys were after me. I don't think you would have allowed me to go to sleep.
That's for sure. Well, we see the gold in each other, and it must be revealed while we still have breath in our lungs.
That's right.